Aloha, everyone. Happy Aloha Friday. Welcome back to another installation of Manoa Valley Theater Live. I am your host, Dylan Chase Lee. And, geez, 15 episodes. We just can't thank you folks enough for staying with us for 15 weeks. And also, hopefully, for those of you who this may apply to, you enjoyed your day off because it's July 3rd, the day before Independence Day. And at the rate that we're going, hopefully tomorrow we don't end up with aliens falling from the sky. But anyways, I digress. Let's bring out our main man, Kip Wilborn. Kip.
Hey, Dylan.
Kip, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Digress, you do. Yes. How's everything today?
Everything is good. Everything is good. I took the opportunity today to just kind of rearrange the house. That way it doesn't look like a pigsty anymore.
Very nice. Yeah, well, we went out. We got a big family gathering tomorrow of the family unit that actually lives together, and we were out doing shopping, getting ready for little Independence Day celebration. I got my Hawaii and U.S. Shirt on here.
Nice.
And then the humu humu nuku nuku apua. Yeah, something like that. And the hibiscus and the flag. So. Yeah, so we're feeling a little celebratory, but it's been raining like crazy back here today. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Maybe we're like right next to the rainforest or something. I don't know.
You folks give some of that rain to Waianae because, as I understand, Waianae had a brush fire recently.
They did. I don't know what the status of that is, but I did see that. Well, welcome everybody. We really are thankful that you're here after in our 15th episode, and we've been having fun doing this, and we'll continue to do it as the weeks go by. And so let me tell you a little bit about some things around the theater. So I want to remind you that December 11th we will open our season. We're doing a 4-performance run of A Christmas Carol, a live radio play. HPR is going to tape for us, and then they're going to rebroadcast. And so we're looking forward to that. But then our main big opening is Desperate Measures on January 7th. And I hope we'll see all of you back in the theater. Well, I guess you can't all be there that first night, but we'll see you back in the theater for that show. That cast has been fantastic. They've hung together. They're gonna be there all together again in January, and so we're really looking forward to that. And what else is going on? Let's see. Sad day yesterday. We had almost 55,000 new COVID-19 cases nationwide. So, folks, we're not out of the woods. And there's also been some controversy just recently about whether masks are worth wearing or not. You know what? What if they are? You know, what? It's a slight inconvenience. So just, do it. Hopefully it is a big deal. It does make a difference, but social distance for sure. And take care of each other. And this weekend especially, I know you're all going to want to get together. We wanted to have the whole family together. And our house is kind of the gathering place, but we're talking, that's like 40 people. So we're only having like just the folks that live here together. And we're all going to kind of sit down and have a nice meal and celebrate a little bit. So be careful, be responsible, and have a great weekend. All right.
Yeah.
So, Dylan, what have we got on tap today?
Well, we have a guest who would like to remain as anonymous as possible. For those of you who didn't see the opening credits, hopefully you don't know who this guest is. He'd like to remain anonymous.
All right. Well, then bring Anonymous out, and I'll go backstage.
We will bring Anonymous out. Thank you, and we'll talk to you later. Okay.
All right. See ya.
All right. So as I said, our guest would love to remain anonymous. So anonymous that I'm going to just do his intro on the fly. This person has been an actor, director, and a producer and producing director at Manoa Valley Theater. We recently renamed our theater in his honor, and he also retired. This man is a Honda driving man. If you ever tell him that he's driving a Harley Davidson, he will give you a long lecture about how his motorcycle is not a Harley, but it is a Honda. And he also loves to park it on the lanai after we have pressure washed it. Please help us welcome to the stream today, Mr. Anonymous. Mr. Anonymous, how are you?
Hey, Dylan, how are you, man? Hey, Kip. Hey, everybody out there in MVT land. I'm glad to see you guys, and I hope you all are staying well. I hope you're staying healthy. I hope you're wearing your masks, because we're supposed to be doing that now.
I don't know if everyone's wearing their masks, because it looks like you took a great deal of them.
Well, I only had one box, and so I've got more on order, because I want to stay safe. It's important to stay safe.
You look kind of like a Muppet.
I feel kind of like a Muppet, but I don't know what to say about that. But I can also tell you this.
What's up?
These things are not air conditioned, man.
No, they are not.
Oh, man. Oh.
What?
There we go. That's a little better.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. That's pretty. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, doggone it. I've got this pandemic hair thing going on. I went past my barbershop 2 days ago. They're still closed. So I got this crazy thing going. And, I think it makes me look older than I even am. So you know what? Wait a second. Okay, wait a second. Let me just try and recomb my hair a little bit. I got my comb. Let me recomb my hair a little bit and see if maybe it makes me look a little younger. Okay, just 1 second. Just 1 second. Okay, here we go.
Do it.
Here we go. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. How do I look now?
Oh my goodness.
Did it take any years off of me?
Yeah, I'd say it took at least half a century off of you.
You know what? You've done your math. High school senior photo 50 years ago. Yes, indeed.
Woo!
Yes, indeed. But still alive, and still crazy. I mean, you expected that. So anyway, how are you, man? How are things at the theater?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm kind of locked down here. I live alone in a small apartment, and my exercise routine is to go from my lounge chair to the refrigerator and back. And every couple hours, I'll also include a small trip to the restroom. So I'm staying exercised, I'm staying well fed, and that's all I can say.
Well, that's good. I mean, honestly, I think you feel a little bit stir crazy in there in your tiny little apartment.
Yes, crazy is a word that's often been associated with me. So add stir, yeah, absolutely. A little stir crazy, yes. But hey, it beats the alternative.
Yes. All right. So, Dwight, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, we have some great questions for you, and you have the entire half hour today. So this is the episode of Dwight Martin, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. I'm honored by that. Truly.
All right. So, Dwight, tell us a little bit about your background. Obviously, you look the same as you did 50 years ago from that photo.
I love you, man. I love you. My background. Well, okay. Let's see. I was born in New Haven, Connecticut, and then I spent my elementary school years for 10 years in New Jersey. Then I spent my high school years, 5 years, in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Whoa!
And then I came back to the country and attended university in Indiana for 4 years, and then transferred out as a second semester senior to a university in Missouri, and lived there for about 2.5 years. Then on to North Carolina, ran a small professional theater, and then bada bing, came to Paradise.
Wow, so you've kind of been all over the place. And I just want to go back to your high school years. You said that you grew up in Afghanistan.
Yeah. What? Didn't everybody? Well, so the story is my father was working in New Jersey at a college, and he was contacted by the State Department about going overseas. He was in education, about going overseas in education and working for the USAID, Agency for International Development. And the post that they had available was in Kabul, Afghanistan. Ooh. So it was a very interesting family dinner that night when my father said to my mother, my brother Doug, and me, family, how would you feel about going to Kabul, Afghanistan? And so the first thing was to get out the encyclopedia and see where this actually was. And then we went, and I ended up staying there 5 years. I graduated from a State Department high school in Kabul, and it was an amazing experience. It truly was.
Nice. So what would you say was your most memorable experience in Kabul, Afghanistan?
Wow, just being around such different people, going to places that you only would read about in books. I remember when I came back home and saw my friends again, and they're like, oh, last summer I went to Indiana. Oh, hey, we went to Canada. I'm like, yeah, well, let's see. I went to India and Hong Kong and East Africa. So, I wasn't trying to throw names around, but I had to ask the question when they said, where did you spend last summer? So the worldliness of being able to travel internationally and live overseas in the third world among people who were very different from what I had experienced in New Jersey was truly life-forming.
So we spoke with you a little while ago, and you said that you're a little bit of a donkey whisperer. Could you kind of go more?
Oh, man. You were going to bring that up, weren't you? Okay, here's the story. So in Kabul, my family and I lived in a house, the four of us, and we were just 1 block away from a small stream. And in the stream bed, they would dig out clay to be used to make building bricks to construct buildings. And to carry that clay from the riverbed to the kiln, they would put it in sacks on the backs of donkeys. And so I was looking out the second-story window of our house many times, watching this activity going on, and the donkeys would occasionally bray. And I thought, I wonder if I can do donkey speak. So I actually brayed to the donkeys from my house and had them respond. Oh, yes.
So, are you still able to do that bray? I like how you just yes-anded the choice. You didn't even hesitate. You just went straight into it. And if there's one thing that I know, yes-anding is one of the best fundamentals in theater. And you, sir, quite honestly, have probably taken.
You know, I don't know. I've been crazy since birth. So, you know, my brother's the smart one. I'm the animated one. So I don't know what to say.
And that's okay. That's okay. I love the animation. I love the energy it brings to the show. People are loving it. If you folks are watching right now, tell us on a scale of 1 to 10 how accurate that donkey bray was that Dwight just did.
You know, my brother's watching this from Montana, so maybe he should call in and answer that. So it's an impartial response. But I would give it 8.5, man. I really would.
Okay. Dwight says it's an 8.5. If there's anyone else that says otherwise, let us know in the comments. So we're digressing. Speaking of theater, what got you into theater? What was that first spark for you?
Well, here's that story.
Okay.
I was in the 2nd grade and living in Trenton, New Jersey. And Trenton State College, now called the College of New Jersey, would produce a play or two each year in their college auditorium, which is about 800 seats, big proscenium arch theater. And one day, one of the drama professors called my father, who happened to be president of the college, and said, you know, we're doing a play and there's a role for a little guy in it, no lines. Do you think Dwight might be interested? And my father said, you ought to ask him yourself. So he handed me the phone, and the director said, oh, we're doing this play in the auditorium. I'd been there before, so, you know, and would you be interested? And so I went, so in contemporary speak, I basically said, I'll get back to you. So I hopped on my bicycle and rode it across the college campus to the auditorium, went inside, and walked all around this amazing room. I walked all through the audience area. I walked on the stage. I walked in the wings, backstage. I looked up. I saw the lights. I saw the curtains. And I was like, oh. And I came back home, and I picked up the phone, and I called the director, and I said, yes. So that was 2nd grade. I did more college plays as a youth in elementary school. I continued doing plays in junior high and high school over in Afghanistan. And then I decided that I wanted to major in theater arts, and I did.
Nice. So after college, did you immediately come to Hawaii in search of theater, or?
No, I didn't. I didn't know what kind of job I might find. I mean, I studied acting and directing, but there are tens of thousands of people more talented than me. So I didn't really think I'd be competitive necessarily. And a friend had was living in North Carolina and was the technical director at a theater there and invited me to come visit. And while I was visiting, he said, you know, there's a theater here that's looking for a theater manager position. You ought to apply. And I thought, well, I have, you know, some office skills and stuff, you know, and it would be in my field, even though I wouldn't be in the lights, which is fine. So I applied. I got the job. I worked there for 3 years until the job ended. And then I went in search of my next job, and I went to the annual American Theater Association convention, which in that year was being held in San Diego. And Ms. Cecilia Fordham here in our community was there as a member of the MVT board, and the managership was open. She said to the board, hey, do you want me to put up a help wanted sign and see who crawls in? And the board said yes. And so I was one of the crawlees. And 3 weeks later, 2 interviews later, including one here in Hawaii, which was my first time ever to come to Hawaii, I was offered the job, and I said yes.
Yeah, and pretty much the rest is history. You've stayed with us all the way up until the 50th season, which is a huge accomplishment. Yeah, I mean, the amount of work that you've put into the theater is definitely has not gone without notice.
Well, thank you. I'm really big on teamwork, and I like to be a team player, and I like to be a team coordinator. So my job really was cajoling, enticing, intimidating, blackmailing people into supporting the theater and first working together. And that meant, talent on the stage, behind the stage, directing, design. That meant board of directors. That meant professional staff. That meant volunteers. That meant sponsors and donors and season ticket holders. And it was a real privilege to be on that team. I really enjoyed it very, very much.
Good. So of all the productions that you've overseen, which would you say was your most favorite production that you've ever put on at Manoa Valley Theater?
Well, I have an answer that may seem off point, but it's not. Really, my favorite one was our production of Smokey Joe's Cafe in September 2001. Now, September 2001, we refer to that as 9/11, was a tragic month for our country. It was just, we'd been attacked. It was just, we all were caught with our pants down. I mean, nothing like this had ever happened to us before. And so we delayed the show for about 2 weeks because we didn't want to open it while all that was happening. And then decided, should we open it? Should we not? And we decided, no, let's open it. First of all, it was an incredibly good show. But what really was my takeaway was the feeling in the whole group, the audience, the performers, the musicians, everybody. We were hurting so badly as a country. We needed one another. And it was a feel-good musical. It was jukebox #1 hits from Lieber and Stoller. You could sing along with the thing. And for 2 hours, we all were in a shared space, physically and emotionally. And it made such an impact on me how theater can really bring us together, can make us leave our troubles outside the door for just a little while, and can bring us great joy and re-warm our hearts. And that's what we needed in September 2001. So that's my favorite show for that reason.
And I really like your story because that it's true. Theater does bring us into a different world. The characters that you see on stage help us kind of forget about whatever was happening beforehand, before we got into the house, right?
It's true.
And, that just goes to show how important the arts are and why the arts needs to stick around.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And, sometimes people think it's sort of frivolous. Oh, theater and performing arts and stuff like that. But bottom line is it's storytelling. And the stories being told are by us and about us, whether it's through stage acting, through dance, through music, visual arts, whatever. It all starts within us, and it is an expression of us.
Yes.
And I find that to be really stimulating and very exciting. It's just so wonderful to have the performing arts. And I always give people a mindful when they toss it off as being frivolous and who needs that and what's all that about. I'm like, it's about you. That's what it's about.
And just being vulnerable on that stage and showing your truest form, that's what's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, going back to being vulnerable on stage, so a lot of people often they get stage fright on the stage, and they kind of lock up or they tense up. What would you say was your scariest moment on the stage?
I have 2 of them.
Oh.
And they both have to do with being in a 2-actor scene where the other actor wasn't there.
Oh.
The first time was in a college production, and I was playing an irascible, loud, boisterous, mean-spirited father, and I just had this really intense scene with a character, and that character left the stage, and it was time for the next one to come on, and I'm sitting there with all this fury inside of me, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and the actor didn't come on stage. And meanwhile, I'm trying to keep acting. Keep this going, man. Keep this going. And of course, inside, the little voice in my head was going, ah! You know. So what had happened was the actor was in the dressing room on the third level of the theater, had zoned out. He was on Mars or somewhere.
Oh, no.
The really sharp stage manager, who was just off stage in the wings, was standing there, and next to her was the actor who was supposed to come on for the scene following that. He didn't know what was going on. The stage manager got behind him, shoved him really hard onto the stage and said, "Go now!" And he's like, oh, you know. So the play picked up. Here's the second one. It was a production at Manoa Valley Theater. In 2015. It was a wonderful comedy called Becky's New Car. And there was a scene where I was on stage with another actor, just the two of us. And there was a part of the scene where we both were on cell phones. We were doing kind of a twisted identity thing. It was very funny. And so that part of the scene comes up, and my character, I reach down into my costume and I pull out my cell phone and I look at the other actor and I see an expression on his face I've never seen before. And then he says to me, "I'll be right back." And he leaves the stage. And I'm sitting there trying to stay in character. I'm like, what do I do now? I don't sing. I don't tap dance. I'm not a playwright. You know, what do you do? And then he came back. He didn't have his phone at the beginning, and he went and got his phone off stage and came back, and then the scene resumed. Now, in audience time, that was probably 10 seconds, maybe at the most 15.
Yeah.
But in actor time, and any other actors watching this will know what I mean, it was 4 hours and 37 minutes. Out there like, now what do I do, you know? So anyway, that was really scary. And oh, by the way, hey, Jemina, how are you? Hope you're doing well. How's that new phone? Yeah, good, yeah.
Under the bus.
Lost that friend.
Yes. He did not, you did not sugarcoat that at all. You called him out right on the show.
He knows I love him.
It's kind of like that scene in The Sound of Music where the Von Trapp family is supposed to be coming on. They're supposed to sing, and the guy says, "And now the Von Trapp family," and it pans over, and there's no one there. That's
yeah.
All right. So, Dwight, because we have you on the show today, there's obviously some knowledge that you can give us in terms of Manoa Valley Theater's history. We're not calling you old. We're just calling you a historian of sorts. So, our first question is, so the theater itself is a cemetery, right? There's graves out in the front. What was the theater before it was an actual, before a black box theater?
It's always been a black box theater. The founders of the theater didn't have a facility, and so they were gypsying around town. For a while, they're in a space on the Poly Highway, then they're in Chinatown, then Waikiki, and they were having success. They were building an audience that wanted to see their work, and so they realized they really need to find a home facility. And one of the founders was driving up East Manoa Road one day and glanced over, and here's this wooden building in the middle of a cemetery. Didn't look busy, didn't even look occupied. And he found out that it was owned by Kauai Church, and it was in fact their old Manoa Mission building. But they had since moved all their activities from that building to their downtown location. So it was empty. A rectangular room, a black box. And so the manager of the theater at the time contacted the church, chit chat, handshake. And so the theater folks were allowed to rent it and named it Manoa Valley Theater and started doing their plays there. And that was in about 1972. Now jump ahead to 1985, and that same wooden building was now funky. It was termite infested. It had dry rot. It was unsafe. It was unair conditioned. It was small. 100 seats. And so the board of directors and I said, you know what, we got to do something about this. Mm-hmm. And so over the course of a year and a half, we raised just under $1 million and took down that old wooden building and erected the 150-seat air-conditioned Manila Valley Theater that we all know today.
Nice.
And the cemetery came with it. Now, if I was, going to be flip, I'd say, well, we knock them dead at Manila Valley Theater. But I do want to say how grateful we are to the church, how grateful we are to the families who have Ohana there in the cemetery. I like to call it a garden. And we have a wonderful relationship. We're very respectful, and we're very grateful to be able to use that beautiful piece of land to do our cultural offerings.
All right. Thank you. Actually, Braddock put in the chat saying that they had to pour the foundation around you and your desk. Is this true when you were building the building?
Oh boy, as soon as I get off camera, that guy's gonna suffer. We, the footprint of the new building is right over the footprint of the old building. It's just a little bit bigger. Yeah. And the old building was just a room. It had open lanais all the way around. In Hawaiian architectural terms, that's called Dickey design. Yeah. And what we really, really took great pains when we were designing the new theater was not to change it. We still wanted that feeling. We still wanted it to be of Hawaii. We wanted it to be simple, because the simpler the building, the more it would showcase our art in the building, because you're not competing with the facility you're in. And so we built a rectangular room with open lanais all around, and I'm very, very pleased of how that turned out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Dwight, one last question for you. What would you consider to be some of the achievements during your leadership while at Manoa Valley Theater?
Well, first of all, I never got arrested. But beyond that, I think that one, of course, was building that physical structure, was raising the money, working with the architect, working with the contractor, working with everybody, the donors, to realize a new physical theater. Another thing would be the expansion of our artistic programming. I mean, the founders did quite a wide variety of plays, but we expanded that even further. In addition to plays that were just fun and jolly, we also got into plays that were topical, plays that were timely, plays that were hard-hitting, some of them difficult to watch. We were the first community theater in the country to receive a license to produce Tony Kirschner's Angels in America. In its two halves, Angels in America won the most Tony Awards of any play ever in American theater history. It's about the early years of the AIDS epidemic and the inability of the federal government to interact with people suffering, to provide support, to provide, funding and all that sort of thing. Gee, does history repeat itself?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, it was very impactful. It was very dramatic, very theatrical, and I was so proud that we did that. We had a member on our board of directors at the time. He was working with one of the local businesses, and they were one of our financial supporters. And he wasn't really a theater guy. He liked going to theater, but And so when I announced that in our play season, he called me and said, "Oh, I don't think we should do this play. This is not a good choice. This is no, we shouldn't do this." And I said, "Dude, chill. It's an important play. It's prominent in American theater, and we're going to be one of the first theaters to do it."
Yes.
We went ahead and did it. And after the production was over, one day I got a letter in the mail from him. And he said, I still have reservations about doing this play. I still think it's probably something that, didn't go with what we normally were doing. But now that I've seen it, I totally understand. And I agree. I didn't like it. And I agree that we needed to do it. So it's that kind of thing that really, we were moving into an era where we could, in addition to Smokey Joe's Cafe, we could do plays like Angels in America.
Nice. And, that's kind of Manoa Valley's thing. We're not necessarily a theater that does, spectacular with lights and jazz hands. We're more of a kind of edgy, on the real grungy kind of theater.
The way that I always described it was that we had great artistic diversity. And I think that's important because, as I just explained, there are plays I think audiences should bear witness to that may be unsettling or a little uncomfortable. But also there's great entertainment. And it's not only about the audience, it's also about the practitioners, the actors, the directors, the musicians, the designers, the backstage crew. Everybody, enjoys different facets of theater. And rather than just channeling into one or just two or three, I always thought that doing as wide a variety as we could would be smart. You can't please all the people all the time.
No.
But I really was committed to trying to please most of the people most of the time.
Good. And that's a great way to kind of wrap up our interview, Dwight. If you don't mind sticking around for a moment, I'll bring back Kip and we can start closing down the show.
I don't mind, but I want to say one more thing.
Okay.
I want to say how important it is for a community to have an organization like Manoa Valley Theater, because it is the community, okay? It's everybody in front of the lights, behind the lights, in the seats, everybody. And this is a difficult year for everybody. It's really difficult, certainly for the theater and other theaters who no longer can be producing plays while we have to be isolating at home. So I really encourage people not to walk away from being supporters, to realize that more than ever, we need support because we need to keep the organization alive to get back to a healthier day when we all can enjoy it in the more traditional sense. So please, it's about us. It's our theater, our community. Please support it. Please do whatever you can to encourage it, to return to it, to send financial gifts to it. It's really important.
Right. Thank you for that, Dwight. And with that, let's bring back Kip. Kip?
Well said, Dwight. Thank you so much for being on the show. And, you are spot on. Art is the flower garden of life, and we need some flowers right now.
Mm-hmm. We do indeed. And by the way, as I said when I wrote the press release announcing my retirement a year ago, I am now a free agent and I am available. So you've already seen my headshot, and here's my resume. So call.
All right, we'll do it. Absolutely.
Aloha, everybody.
Such a pleasure, and I've got such an incredibly huge shoes to fill, and your legacy is amazing here.
Thank
you. Thank you.
All
right, Dylan.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show, Dwight, and shedding light on, your experiences within your personal experiences with theater, as well as your experiences with Manoa Valley Theater, and the theater that connects everyone on this stream right now kind of together.
I'm honored to continue being a part of it. Thank you.
So be sure and give 808-988-6131 or ManoaValleyTheater.com.
Yeah. And with that, we wish you folks a very happy Aloha Friday. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Wear your mask. Wear your mask.
Wear your mask. Happy 4th of July.
Yes. Okay. We'll see everyone later. Bye.